So we've got a great class. It's about 1 o'clock, top of the hour. So we'll get started. The last class of the year. Denny Grimes coming to you from Fort Myers, Naples, and talking about scripts and dialogues for a C19 market. I know we're all kind of anxious to probably get rid of the C19 part of that. However, it is what it is. So a couple different things, as I was just mentioning. If you're new, Denny delivers on YouTube. All of my classes I've been doing for the last 5 or 6 months are there. We're all starting to break them down into little bite-sized tidbits, niblets as we call them. Instead of having to listen for an hour, we're starting to break them down and categorize them on question-based, listening-enhanced conversational scripts. Now, I want to talk to you today about something when people start getting into the end of the year. I know a lot of subjects come up. You know, it's holidays, it's New Year's Eve parties, it's New Year's resolutions, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to ask you a question because I think this is a question that's going through many people's minds right now out there in the public. And I just want you to know, or I'll ask you guys if you want to chat in the chat box, you can. I've got Sunny from my office watching that. The market generally started out in 2020 great. And then it got bad because of COVID. And then in many markets, it got good or maybe even greater. With that being said, if you were on a game show and the $100,000 question was, how did your year end up? Was it up, the same, or down? When you look at the number of homes being sold. So if you had that on a game show based on it started out great, then it got really bad, then it got really good. How did your year end up? So there's no right or wrong answer because I don't know your market. I just want this to be thought-provoking for you guys. So if you'd be kind enough, write in there, up, down, flat. And Sonny, you can kind of share what kind of answers you're getting. And there's a method to my madness here.
So far, I got an up.
Got it up, all right.
Up. Flat, still new and learning. My year ended up better, 10,000 more than last year. I just started 2 months ago, so flat.
Now, this is kind of an aha moment for me, and probably the question I asked wasn't clear enough because the way you guys are answering that question, some are answering it maybe from the market as a whole. Sorry about that. You're answering that as a market as a whole. Other people may be answering that question based on their experience. I'm new, or my personal business is up. And I'm glad that you are doing it that way because a lot of agents, when the media will ask or our clients will ask how the market's doing, they will answer that question based on how they are doing individually. So for example, if they had one sale in 2019 and in 2020 they had 3, so their business was up 200%. And so that would give somebody obviously the wrong idea. Now, why am I talking about this? Because Gary Keller talks about one of the things we should be doing, and this is in the Shift book, is becoming the local economist of choice. And I think this is going to give you guys as agents a kind of a special differential advantage, understanding what the market is really doing. Because until I got into the numbers, and maybe you have, maybe you haven't, maybe you're making a guess and you might be accurate. However, how would you like to be confident to know? And probably within 5 minutes or 10 minutes at the most, by you digging into MLS, you can have expert knowledge to answer that question. So the first segment of this role play class, this is my little tidbit to you, is how you can become the local economist of choice, the local expert in your marketplace, and how you can start to leverage that on the social media platforms. All right. So there's a lot of confusion on the market. It does go up and down. So let me start with just a couple of 3 simple things you guys should know. And this is very easy to find out in your MLS, and even your board of realtors or your market center might even publish some data. Believe me, I am not a brainiac. I don't have a slide rule. I don't generate random number tables just for kicks and giggles, okay? It's not my gig. However, I believe what Gary has to say about becoming the local economist of choice. And I have made a conscious effort of doing that for the last 20 plus years. And it's really helped position me. Now, that was before social media. You guys can, in a short order, 3 or 4 or 5 months, if you have just little tidbits you publish on your socials, it will attract business to you because there's a lot of uncertainty in the market, and it being good, bad, and good, how is the market doing? So the three, and there's more things you can measure. Just be in general though. When you talk about the number of sales, and you don't have to answer this in a chat, I just want you to know, answer this question in your mind. Are your sales up or down in any specific product type? Like it could be condos, it could be homes, it could be manufactured homes for that matter. Are your sales up or down? Now that would give you some indication of how the market's doing. How about your median price? What's going on with the median price? This is what the media reports on all the time. I always seem to, like maybe every other class I teach, because I want you guys to be in the know before the consumer's in the know. I want you guys to be in the know before the media understands it, so you can add perspective and color to it, is get ahead of the news cycle. You do that by setting up Google alerts on your opinion leaders like Lawrence Yun from the National Association of Realtors, Lawrence Yun, Y-U-N. Google them or Bing them or whatever you like to use. Then set up a Bing or Google alert, because the media is always reporting the number of sales and the median sales price and maybe even market segments. So one of the things I have been doing for the last, probably it's been almost 10 years now, is I have a TV segment on a CBS affiliate, and I'm always looking for interesting things to share. Now, what this COVID thing has done is made me more comfortable in front of a camera, other than a studio camera, right? In front of a Zoom camera. So I'm going to actually be venturing out. I'm leaving MySpace behind. I'm going to get into Facebook, YouTube, et cetera, et cetera. And so I can become more of the local economist of choice for the consumer, not just the real estate agent. So you can follow my path on this, and I'll help you all I can. Let me give you some examples of how simple this can be, yet powerful. So when you look at the number of single family home sales, YOY is year over year. So for example, we're almost through year end. It's not quite, we still have some closings that would take place. So what I happened to do, this took me about 5 minutes. I went into MLS and I said, how many closings did we have? Single family, you could take any category you want. You could take any area of geography you want. I just took the 2 counties, Naples or Collier County and Fort Myers or Lee County, and came up with 19,800. And I said, okay, ask the same question. How about the number of closings we've had in 2020? Now, interesting there. So if you would have answered, if the question would have been asked me in a game show, the number of sales up or down, a lot of people would have answered, maybe guessed up because of how strong the market's been the last 4 or 5 months. And clearly it's up 5%. Now, notice I happen to be pretty accurate here with the numbers, and it doesn't matter. You could round that off. You don't have to even quote the numbers, because you could tell someone the market's up, from 19,000 to 20,000. That doesn't mean anything. However, if you were meeting with a potential buyer or seller and they're asking about the market, whatever their opinion is, and you happen to be able to say, because you're coming from knowledge and you're coming from confidence, the market's up 5% in spite of the fact that 3 or 4, or depending on where you are, 5 or 6 months of your market has been cut out. That's pretty strong. Now there's ways to drill down and do all kinds of different gymnastics with that. However, that's just the basic. I know right now in Southwest Florida, home sales are up 5%. Let's talk about prices. This is the median. The median is the midway point. This is what the media always reports, the median, right? And so in 2019 versus 2020, look at that, up 9%. And yes, you can slice it and dice it a lot of different ways. However, that piece of information, I didn't have to really do any calculations. The only calculation I had to do is take 19 versus 20, and you do the subtraction and you divide it by the 19 number, it gets you up 9%. So how could that be helpful? Well, for example, if you're working with a buyer that thinks that maybe I should be waiting on stepping into the market because the market's going crazy. Well, if they would have had that opinion at this time last year, what? They would have missed out on 10% of the market growth. And so then you go into the question-based scripts that we'll be going over here in a little bit, which is the greater pain. Because you know what? We don't know what the market's going to do in the future. It may go up, it may go down. However, the trend has been up, the momentum is up, and interest rates are super low. I had a mailer come into my mailbox the other day about refinancing my home, my first mortgage, and at 2.3, and I think
We're frozen.
Okay, got it. Thank you. So thank you for that. Let's see if I can fix it. You still have audio, right?
Yes.
Okay, just let me know when it freezes again. I don't know. I'm going to get that bug worked
You're
out.
good.
So,
yep. Okay.
all right. So the fact that the median is up 10%, that will help buyers, maybe get off the fence. How would you use that information with sellers? For example, if a seller basically has waited, you can congratulate that seller for waiting. Good job, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, because you've waited until now to get your home on the market, approximately, and I'm talking about my numbers, it's worth about 10% more. So would you want to take advantage of that extra equity and put it in your pocket? One more thing I want to talk about when it comes to numbers, so your eyes don't go crossed or whatever, because I know some people don't like numbers, is the third thing I mentioned here was segments. What segments? Golf course properties, waterfront properties, homes versus condos, etc. So I happen to do this for the news channel because this was very surprising. Now imagine if you had a segment of the market that was really doing a super performance and you went online in your socials and gave this. For example, you could be a luxury seller. Hey, I got great news for you out there. The market, as you know, has been going crazy. Properties under $1 million in our marketplace are up 20%. However, I've got good news for you because you happen to be in that luxury market. We define from $1 million to $5 million. Your home value, the number of sales are up 54%. And if you're in the uber luxury market, the homes are priced above $5 million, almost 50%. Been in real estate a long time. I would say over 30 years, we have never seen numbers like that. If you'd like to know why the market's clicking up, send me a text, send me an email, blah, blah, blah. So imagine if you use that type, it's a one minute little thing on your socials, and you could make the phone ring because you may be finding some monster numbers, some outstanding numbers that no one is reporting. And I promise you, the media will never report the segments. Like if you happen to have a farm area in a geographic area or a condo building, drill down deep into what information may be meaningful to your homeowners in that particular segment. So that's my tidbit of the day, ending the year, because now we have a picture of how the market is really ending up. And the fact that it started good, went bad, got great, and it's up, and it's still good news. We see no signs of it slowing. Any comments, any questions? You can go, we're right on time. I'm going to attempt to do these in 15-minute segments. We have about a minute and a half. You can put a question in the chat. Sonny will read it to me, or you can go live on the mic, whatever you want to do. Any questions on the simplicity about these three indices and how you can use them to become the real estate economist of choice in your area?
James wants to know, are those numbers just for Florida or nationwide?
Great question. These numbers are for neither. They're for my MLS area. Now, you can use the numbers by saying, hey, look, I was on a Zoom call with another agent in Florida, and he was seeing, you can share the numbers. It's not really meaningful to you. However, if you log into MLS, I promise you, even if you're new, someone can show you, you can have these numbers in less than 15 minutes. And you don't have to be a scientist or brainiac. Just, hey, sales are up, what I say, 5%, prices are up 9%, and the luxury market is up almost 50%. Those 3 points right there make you light years ahead of any agent you're going to see or work with. and you're even ahead of the media. Now, if you do that enough, it may open doors for you to be sourced in the media, like the people who blog or people that are on broadcast. They may want that information. That's what I set out to do. And that's why I was able to glean a TV spot, which I don't have to pay for. It just helps my branding.
This is my father's.
Oh, Jacqueline has a question. Trend graphics also show this data, right?
Market trend, you're talking about market trends?
Yes.
Yeah, there's data sources out there. There's another one I subscribe to. It's like $19 a month. And that market trends one is a different one. Yes, you can subscribe to this stuff. Our local board publishes the data every month, and it just in a very simple format. I mean, there's a lot more numbers there than you need. You don't have to dig for this stuff. If it's there, that it's available to you. The two things I want to encourage you to do, you guys, is understand the very, very, very basics of it. Sales are up, prices are up, and our luxury market is going crazy. I mean, who wouldn't listen to that? Particularly if you want to break into the luxury market. So I want you to know what the numbers are, and then don't be a secret agent. Go out in your socials, get over yourself, make a Zoom call or make a recording of whatever you call those things, a Facebook Live or a selfie or whatever, and post it. There's crazy things people are posting, right? I mean, I was watching one yesterday. A raccoon got his head caught in a coffee can. Like, I watched it. So people, there's crazy things. You might as well post some things to help build your business. Anything else before we move forward? Awesome. So let's go to the second part of what we want to talk about now. And just as a review, if you're new to the class, I'll take a second. There's a lot of ways to handle objections. And there's a lot of objection, Bold, Keller Williams, Mike Ferry, there's Buffini. There's a lot of different sources of scripts. It's just like strategies in playing chess. I love the fact that basically, in fact, the more astute and the agents I follow always use a lot of questions. So I have formulated my question-based listening enhanced conversational script format, which means everything you do is basically a question. Why? Because questions will attract people to you and versus push them away. One of the skill sets that I've picked up and I'm doing better now, and I'm going to encourage you to start to listen better, because if you listen to the words carefully, you'll have a better understanding of what the buyers or sellers mean by what they're saying. It's one thing to hear them. It's the other thing to be able to interpret what they mean. And listen, if there's any ambiguity, if you're unclear at all, the highest compliment you can give them is ask. Because as long as you're asking and they're telling, they're not bored. They will never fall asleep on you if you ask them questions, although they can fall asleep on you if you give a presentation. Just like when somebody would happen to ask for directions. Hey, listen, help me get to the Cracker Barrel. Or hey, tell me how to get to the restaurant. Well, what restaurant are you going to? So that's why we have to discover where people go or want to go. Where's their destination? The example I used last time, if you're having a party at your house and I call you, say, listen, I want to get there. I'm lost by GPS. I seem to be turned around. Your very first question, you don't have to memorize it. It's just intuitive. Where are you now? I don't know. I see a sign. I see a church over there, and I see basically a school, a Norton High School. I know exactly where you are. Keep going straight about 5 more miles, right? That's all we're doing. So, and the formula we always follow is this. It's very simple. We want to acknowledge their concern or their objection. I understand. I see. I understand why you say that, et cetera, et cetera. So you give them some validity. It's a lot like bass fishing. And I'm going to be honest with you, I've never been bass fishing in my life, so I don't know why I said that. However, I've been fishing before, and sometimes you just want to make sure you're giving the fish some line, and then you're going to isolate. So if you're sitting down taking notes, what I want you to do is please write down the word isolate. This is where the magic happens. Most agents can acknowledge, I understand, I see, etc. However, they want to go in and start attacking or peeling back like an onion what they just said before you get all of the objections or concerns on the table. So once you isolate, we use a metaphor called get to the center of the Tootsie Pop. And you do that by a simple word, simple script, by saying, other than that, and you're making notes. Again, you are listening to them, you're taking notes you want to understand. It's no different than if you walked into a doctor's office. Very few people walk in self-diagnosed. The doctor's going to say, okay, well, tell me what's going on. How does it feel? Well, you're having some pain. Can you describe the pain? Is it a sharp? Is it pressure? When does it happen? Before you see what the doctor's doing is asking all the questions in order to diagnose. The doctor isn't going to, without having that information, going to start prescribing a bunch of stuff for you, right? So the more experience we get at this, the more relaxed we become, and also the more relaxed the customer is. Now, let's put it into practice here for a little bit. And I read a great article, and I am borrowing this from the article. I thought it was pretty good. It was published a year or two ago. And I found that this author wrote down most objections for buyers and sellers come into 4 categories. So the first one deals with affordability, right? I can't afford to sell, I can't afford to buy, bad credit, et cetera, et cetera. I'm afraid of the house payments. It has to do with affordability. So the script that I would like to do go over using the formula is this one, if you'd like. We want to buy, but we have bad credit. Would some brave soul on here like to be that buyer and just role play with me? I'll just be the agent and I'll walk you through the model. Who would like to be a buyer with this on their mind?
I'll do it.
So
We all want to do it.
who am I speaking with?
This is Gailey.
Gailey, thank you so much. So here is the formula that I'm going to follow. And so we're having a conversation. It could be on the phone, it could be in person. And she said basically, hey, look, I'd like to buy, but I have bad credit. Let's just assume she said that. So the acknowledgement would be, I understand. And now I'm going to go into the layering or the isolations. So Gailey, let me ask you, other than that, there's the 3 words, right? Magic words. Is there any other reason that would keep you from moving forward today and taking advantage of a great market?
Well, since my credit's not very good, I'm worried that I'm not going to get a good enough rate so that I won't be able to afford, even if I can get a loan, I won't be able to afford the loan. So that would be my next worry.
Okay, now now this is real. I mean, that's awesome. Now, what I do, and I'm doing it now to demonstrate, she mentioned a couple of words. She's talking about the rate and affordable. And even if she could get the loan, she's worried about the rate. Now, I'm stepping out of role just a minute. Is it possible that Gailey, in this particular case, has a concern about the rate? When you look at it just from an objective standpoint, is anyone in their, I want to say the right mind because I don't want this to be a judgment. Would there be anyone out there that had any concerns about the rates right now? No.
No.
And again, although if they don't do this every day, that would be a common thing to come out. Now, again, let me ask you the question, guys. Are we at the center of the Tootsie Roll Pop yet? So I understand, Gailey, you're talking about, your credit, and you're also concerned about the affordability. Am I hearing you right?
Yes, that's correct.
I see. Okay. So I've made a couple notes here. Other than those two issues, the affordability and the credit, is there anything else that would keep you from moving forward?
I guess if we couldn't find the right house, if we only have, if we'll only qualify for a small loan, I'm not sure we can find something we really want to buy for that small of amount. I keep hearing how expensive everything is. So I'm a little concerned about being able to find something that we can afford.
Right. Now, This is only going to be like a 15-minute role play, and she's already, which is okay. She's realistic.
I'm sorry.
No, Gaby, no, you're doing great. That's fine. I want you to, I love what you're doing, because now this is a perfect example. Is if you would have addressed the credit issue. Hey, I've got a lender that, and I know this credit repair service, and why don't we get your credit repaired? And FHA, you can have a 450 credit score. Agents just gush all over these people with information. Again, that's like the patient coming in with a fever. Oh, do this, do this, do this, do this. No, stop. You're getting my drift here.
Yes.
Because there's more to it. That's why we want to make sure we get to the center of the Tootsie Roll Pop. Now, there could be other concerns. And so what I'm going to do, and I'm going to make sure, how do you know when you're at the center? So let's just assume, Gailey, that I'm going to ask you one more time. Those are really significant. I mean, those are great concerns, Gailey. Anything else?
No, it pretty much all centers around, the credit and then affordability. It's pretty much all about the money. Now
we know, we basically, and again, there's no guarantee that all of it's out. However, do we feel we have a kind of a general understanding? Now, this is kind of complex because she keeps reusing the same words: rate, affordability, the right house. So I'm going to summarize, and I'm going to then ask her to tell me which one's the most important. Because people make a mistake. First of all, they talked about bad credit. It's not necessarily the order in which they mention this. It's going to be really, I don't know how to put my finger on it yet. And so if I'm going to drill, I want to make sure I drill in a strategic spot. So you'd mentioned about the credit, the affordability, and, finding the right house. That's how I've kind of made my notes. And if I'm understanding you right on that, Gailey, which one of those is the main concern for you right now?
Affordability, whether we can actually afford to buy a home right now.
Okay. So so it's not that, now what, this is an assumption, right? It's not that you don't want to buy. Am I right in assuming you do want to buy as long as you find it affordable?
Yes.
Okay. Now, there's a lot of ways that we can take this. So if I could show you, what I want to demonstrate is this right now. Send out a trial close before you go and start handling this. So if I could then walk you through a way that this may be possible, would that be a conversation you would want to have with me?
Yes, I would like to hear how you could help us make this happen.
Now, right now, it's one of those moments that I have goosebumps. Okay, when I was a kid, I called them geese, because here's a major aha. Now, has she given me permission to go ahead and talk to her about this?
Elizabeth, is this Michelle, Nancy Bachelor team? How are you?
Yeah, you might have to mute yourself, Michelle. All right. Has she given me permission to talk to her? Yes. All I have to do is ask, versus just going ahead and start throwing stuff on her plate, and she may be resisting. Now I got her into curiosity. So if you're taking notes, get them from whatever position they are to a point of curiosity. So if I walked into the doctor and the doctor said, well, listen, if I can make that itch go away without you having to take any prescription medicine, would you be interested in that? Yeah, because I don't want to take any drugs. Awesome. So then now you can have a conversation. There's a lot of ways we could take that. You can say, okay, tell me now, I don't know what affordability, I've got 2 more minutes here. What's affordability to you, Gailey?
Well, we really don't think that we could do a mortgage over about $1,800 a month.
Now, anyone want to take a while? What would be your next question? No right or wrong. I mean, what would be your next question?
What's your monthly commitment currently?
Well, that would be one of the top 3, I would think. So yeah. So what are you currently paying right now?
Right now, we're paying about $1,600 a month, so we think we can stretch a little bit more if we can get a loan.
Okay. And okay, give me another question. What could have been another question there? When they say $1,800, what does that mean?
Does that mean mortgage only or full monthly commitment?
Yes. You see? You see, every time you ask another question, you learn and you help them, and maybe you help them self-discover, because a lot of people don't know what they can afford and not afford, right? Notice I didn't send them to my mortgage person yet. Why not have a conversation? There's nothing wrong with having a conversation with people about their finances. So Gailey, is the 1,800 your principal and interest? Notice I'm not saying PI, principal and interest, or is it going to be your taxes, insurance, and everything?
Well, I don't actually know what you mean by all that, but 1,800 is the most we can pay. I'm not sure how it all gets broken up, but that's all we can pay. Right now, we pay 1,600 in rent.
Okay.
So we could do 1,800.
So 1,600 is what you're paying in rent. Then you pay your own utilities. So we're not talking about the utilities. You're just home ownership, the cost of home ownership, correct?
Yes, that's right.
Now, down to the last minute. You see what I've done so far. Where would you take it? There's many ways to take it now. Where would you go next to get some clarity?
How much can you put down?
Down payment's coming, yes. Okay, so we could say that, all right? That's a great question. Nothing wrong with that. What's another question?
Job, income.
All right, so I'll stay with you on that. So you ask me. Well, our income is about 70,000.
Joe, are you muted?
Now
Yeah,
what?
so
The host wanted me to unmute. Did it say that for you too?
Somebody's got to mute themselves, guys. What if you give me that question? I say our income's about 70,000. Well, combined it's about 90. We're about $90,000. Where would you go?
Unmute. There we go.
Just ask the rest of the bills. Like what's the total? What are your total monthly bills? Like what credit cards, and just try to get a picture of their debt to income number.
Yes. Yes. All of that. I would go down that route. I would go down that road with them. Probably the question I would have asked up front is, how did you come up with the 1,800? Again, for me, I want to know how they develop their level of thinking, and then all those other questions would come into play. So there's their 15-minute role play on affordability. Any ahas, any questions? You can go live. We have a small group here. You can chat, whatever you want to do. What did you learn? Anything? Any ahas in that role play?
Yeah, find the why behind the why.
Find the why behind the why. It's awesome.
Or the what behind the what, whatever.
The why behind the why and the why behind the what. Now I'm totally confused. What else did you guys learn? Anything? Any comments? We're going to do another one. Nothing in the comments there, Sonny?
Nope, nothing in the chat.
Oh boy. All right. Let's go to number 2. There's affordability. The other is logistics. So logistics, I'm getting ready to retire or getting ready to get married. I'm getting ready to get divorced. My mother-in-law may move in with us. There's a lot of logistics involved, right? So I happen to have this one I pulled out of the hat. This is not Kristen and I. This is not real life. I'm making this up. We're expecting a baby, probably best to wait. So who would like to role play this with me? And not that it's prophetic. I'm not promising that anyone's going to get expecting or work with a buyer who's expecting. Let's just go through the model on this.
Well, I currently am working with a buyer with a baby, or who's expecting a baby, so I guess I will.
And I'm not, who am I speaking with?
This is Samantha, I'm sorry.
All right, that's right. No, it's okay. All right, Samantha.
Yes.
Okay, so gang, follow me. The first step is to acknowledge. Well, congratulations. How are you excited about that?
Yeah, it was a bit of a shock at first, but we're super excited. we're getting ready. It's good news, mostly.
You know, there's nothing wrong when you acknowledge to be a little bit conversational, you know, obviously if it's the good news, be excited with them, right? That you're building rapport. You know, Sunny, who's on the call, she's always on her role play. She's really good at that, being in the moment. Even if you're a high D, be in the moment. So there's the acknowledgement. Now we're going to go to the isolation, right? So, well, let me ask you, Samantha, other than that great news of having a baby or expecting a child, is there any other reason that you wouldn't move forward and buy today?
I think a lot of it boils down to, obviously we need another room, which is one of the reasons we considered it in the first place, but it's our first kid and babies are expensive. So I'm really not certain what to expect financially now and moving forward. And the whole thing is pretty scary. I don't want to get myself into a hole that I can't dig myself out of.
Okay. All right, gang, what's my script now? What's the next question? We're
Denny, you're
isolating.
frozen again.
Okay. We're isolating now. Other than that, Samantha, other than that, is there any other reason why you wouldn't move forward?
Not that I can think of. I mean, my mom might freak out because I'm moving further away, but that's a whole different story.
All right. Now, the first role play, we never got into motivation. Motivation is always the gas in the car that makes it move. It's the gas that makes people move. Now, Samantha made several statements. Now, I just wrote down it's her first child, right? So there's going to be a little angst about that. They don't know what to expect financially. And I was writing fast, and they don't want to get into a hole. Now, can anyone verbalize what she means by any of that with any accuracy? That's rhetorical. Don't answer that. Here's the lesson. We don't know what they mean by that. We don't know how she puts weight on that. Obviously, she would love to have another house. Why? For the other room. However, and she has fear. Listen, when the level of uncertainty reaches to a certain point, it puts us into paralysis. So I understand. So let me just ask you, if you got to the point where you were comfortable making a move and you felt you were comfortable with the finances, because I hear you, I hear your concern is more, you know, you don't want to get it over your head. You don't want to get into a whole situation, right? If there was a way to get you into that new home with that added room for your first child, would it be something you would like to at least explore?
Oh, absolutely. Where do I sign? If you can wave your magic wand and make it happen, I'm in.
Now, that is the missing link. That is the missing question that gets you from salesman to permission to consult them. I want that to sink in. I did it on the last role play too, and I want you to get that. Rather than going in and then saying, well, let me solve all your problems for you. You don't have permission to solve their problems. Listen, if there were a way, Samantha, where you could have your cake and eat it too, would you at least welcome the conversation?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I
can't think of anyone that would say no.
Well, yes. Yeah, I don't know that I've ever articulated it like that before. However, I just want you to know how powerful that is. Now you can have a conversation with them. Well, Samantha, how about if I give you some ideas of how this might work?
Sure. What are you thinking?
Now, going back to the last role play, doesn't it sound somewhat similar as you get into what? Her concern is affordability. Didn't we just do that? Where are they now? What are they paying in rent now? However, because I understood, I isolated, I asked for permission. Hey, look, if I could solve this, not if I could solve it. See, I almost went down that road. Don't ever say that. If there was a solution for this problem, would it be worth a 15 or 20-minute conversation? Then you can sit down and show them some ways that could work. And then, all right, so I don't even know if I have to drill down any deeper on that unless you want. So Samantha, so let me, all right, so let me ask you, have you talked to do you know what the current interest rates are?
Well, I've seen some stuff on the news that they're like, I don't know, 2.5%, 3%, something like that.
Yeah, they're like on a 500-year low right now. What do you think that does to your buying power?
I imagine it gives us more. I think my concern is less at the interest rate and more what my monthly commitment would be.
And I get that, and that's very wise of you. There's an acknowledgement. What would that number be? What would your monthly number be to make you feel comfortable?
So if we were moving without a baby, I'd say 2,000, but with having a baby, I truthfully am not sure. I don't know what to expect. So I don't know what I should budget or how to budget.
Now I'm going to ask again. You guys will get this because you guys came up with some great answers last time. There's more than one right answer. However, where is your mind right now? What would be a logical next question?
How did you come up with that number?
Well, she didn't come up with a number.
She said 2,000.
No, that's what she's paying without a child.
Okay.
Hey, believe me, I'm really working on listening. So and there's no judgment. I'm just saying, you see, what they say is important, right? What would be the logical, you all asked it last time. And it is, aren't they paying something now? What are you paying now, Samantha, on the apartment you're renting?
So rent is about, so rent is $1,700, but with cable and water and everything, it rounds out to about 2,000.
All right, so you're paying 2,000 on where you are now. That's what you feel comfortable with, and so let's. I would probably go right now, and many times for me, it's kind of like if I'm putting some pressure on an area, what I'll do is I'll let up a little bit. I want emotion to be working in my favor just a little bit. Numbers are, it can be scary, blah, blah, blah. Let me just go in and get an ally on my side. An ally would be a positive emotion about what house she wants to move into. Samantha, have you looked around yet at some neighbors or houses that you think you might just be really great to raise your first child in?
Yeah, I definitely have been on, your classic Zillows and Realtor.coms and things like that, sniffing around. And I know a few things in the house that I would really love to see. So yeah, I've got a basic idea of what's around and what I would really like to fall in love with.
And what price range were you looking at? What price range were you seeing in those homes?
The ones that I really liked were about 450 or 500,000, give or take.
And have you been accumulating some savings for a down payment?
Yeah, we got to have about 10,000 to put down. 10 to 15,000. Like I said, we're still kind of working through the budget, so I don't have any sure numbers for you, but something along those lines.
Well, I'm going to propose a question to you guys because I was actually reading about this in the article, and I thought it was a good point. It's one I've thought about before. Let's say that you drill down on the numbers. We've got about 4 minutes left on this role play. You drill down on the numbers, and instead of $2,000 a month, what she's paying now, it comes to $2,300 a month. Now, all right, so Samantha, and based on the numbers, and I'm kind of old school. I've got an HP 12C, and I have it on my phone too. I'll do the payments. I know the inside-outside ratios, how to pre-qualify, blah, 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 blah. The bottom line is going to be, let's just say it comes out to, home ownership is going to be $2,300 a month, and your apartment is $2,000 a month. How do you feel about that?
I could swing $2,300. That sounds, 25 might be my top end, just ballparking it, but 23 would be comfortable, I think. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of interesting because I thought basically, notice how, and this can happen in a real role play. She was leading me to believe, maybe a bad assumption on my part, that $2,000 is where she felt she was comfortable, and she doesn't know what the baby's going to cost. And ideally, she may want to go less. Now, that's a classic example of me not really drilling down deep enough to understand. All right, so now let's just go. Let's say it's $2,600 now, because I wanted to get your different reaction. It's 2,600 and you're at 2,000 right now. How does that make you feel?
2,600 would make me very uncomfortable. I don't know that I would be comfortable sustaining that at all. I think 20, like I said, 25 might be my, I'd really like to stay away from 25. 23 sounds pretty good. 26 would probably be, it would have to be, the house would have to be made of gold and come with someone who's going to rub my feet every night. But, you know, so 26 might be too high.
Now, I love her as a buyer because she's giving you great information. I mean, it's hard to work with clients that don't talk. She said 25 would be good because the next question would be how much is, if 26 is too high, how high is too high? So are you saying then, if you were at 25, you'd be okay, and 26 is just maybe a little bit uncomfortable?
25 would be probably in the middle of uncomfortable and not. It would be at the top end. Like I said, I think some of my fear is just that I don't know what the future holds. So I'm hesitant to give you a really firm answer here.
Okay, interesting. So then are you saying that if you found the house you liked and everything about it, the white picket fence, the whole thing, and the monthly budget was 2,500, it were available today and you could take advantage of it, would you move forward? Or is the concern of the unknown of what the child's going to cost going to hold you back?
If it were the house that I loved, and you know, when you walk in the place and you just fall in love, and you know, if it's that house, then I would be interested in moving forward. I would be dishonest of saying that I wouldn't still have apprehension. But if we can find a way to, you know, clear up those concerns, I'd be very comfortable with finding a home I love at $2,500 a month.
Are you from Alexandria?
Well, I'm a military brat myself, but yeah, currently in Alexandria.
Yeah. Now she would be a great case in mirroring and matching. You notice the rate of her speech. I mean, she's fast, right? So you know, so you would have to maybe pick up on that. Now, we've got two minutes on this role play. We're at the point now. Notice I asked her a very sensitive question. I asked her the question that some people would have been afraid to ask. Generally, if you don't know the answer to something, you're okay asking, because remember, you asked for permission to have the counseling session. I'm not selling, I'm only attempting to figure this out, because I want to find out where the roadblock may be, because she's an awesome case here, because she's given me information. She said, well, 2,500, yeah, that's kind of hypothetical. I don't really know what the baby's expenses are going to be. Right then and there, I wondered, well, is she going to wait for the baby? And then if she's going to wait for the baby, how long will the baby have to be, you know, around alive for them to get an idea of the expenses? Are you talking about like maybe before they get to, you know, 6th grade? What?
Right. No, we actually want to move now because we're in a studio apartment and 3 people and a cat in a studio apartment, not good. So we would like to move before the baby comes.
You can go into that, obviously, and get into pain and get the motivation. Wouldn't it be nice? Can't you wait to paint that baby's room? One more thing I want to leave you with, and this is what the article said. Let's assume it's at 26 and she's a little bit uncomfortable with that. She's even 25. What is one area that many agents don't think about? How would you handle the difference? Let's say she really, no, I don't know, 25 is too much. 23, you're at 26. How would you handle that, you guys? There's more than one way. How would you handle that?
Tax advantages of owning.
Bingo. Tell me more. How would you handle? Let's go. There's more than one thing you could say. You could reduce it to the ridiculous too, right? However, a lot of agents don't talk about that. So I'm going to step in for Samantha and say, maybe I'm your partner. Well, what do you mean by that?
Well, there are advantages to, there are tax ramifications of ownership that produce themselves in advantages on your tax side. So even though you're spending a little more, it's entirely possible that at the end of the year, you're actually spending less because of the deductions you'll be able to take, because you'll be able to itemize and write off the interest on your mortgage.
Now, factual. Let me ask you the question. How could you state that as a question instead of a fact?
Do you know what the tax advantages of owning are versus renting?
Get people in the curiosity. That's why I always like your cake and eat it too. Great question. No. Stay in questions though. I don't know.
Well, I guess I don't know where to take it from there. You help me.
No. Okay. Anybody want to? All right. So it'd be like this. It'd be like this. I don't have a. So who am I talking to?
Amador.
Amador. Okay, great. Thanks. So, all right. So let me ask you this, Amador and Samantha. Is what you pay, is your expenses per month the main thing, or basically what it costs you throughout the whole year important to you?
I would say month to month for myself and my
Okay,
potential child.
So let me ask you, if you're saying 2,300 is comfortable, 26 is uncomfortable. What if you were paying $2,600 a month, and at the end of the year, somebody gave you a check for $300 a month times 12? Would be $3,900. So in essence, your effective payment would be $2,300 a month. Would that make sense?
It sure would.
See, Amador, that's how you would do it as a question. You would say, that would be one of the ways you would bring that up as a question. And they may say, well, how does that work? Then you go into, well, if Uncle Sam gives you a check at the end of the year for $450 a month, because interest is a write-off, and you're not only building equity, you're writing, your interest is a write-off, your effective payment is going to be $2,250. Does that make it comfortable for you to move forward? There you go.
Beautiful.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Samantha. And any ahas on that before we go to our last one?
We have a quick question.
Yep.
What would you suggest for new agents to gain confidence communicating to prospective clients other than role play practice?
All right. So the way I interpret that, thanks so much for the question. I want to be a great pianist without playing the piano. YouTube? I'm just having a little tongue in cheek. I don't know if you want to, if you're asking what you do in addition to it or instead of it. I don't think there is a substitute. I'll ask Sunny this question because now she has been leading our practice and role play with our agents for now months. Have you noticed a progression over the last several months?
Yes.
Not only a progression of here's the thing that they're starting to do. They're starting to gain confidence in just asking the questions in the right format. And then they actually become better listeners because they don't have to think about what they're saying. I don't know any other way of doing it other than practice and role play. I think you can watch YouTubes and so you don't have to do it. You can be on these calls, etc., and other calls. However, the biggest difference probably from what we're doing versus a straight script practice is when you're reading the script back and forth. The role plays are what we're doing. I'm attempting to give you different ways of thinking. Like when you play any sport, and I use chess a lot, the chess master looks at the moves many moves ahead. And as you get a little bit more polished at this, you will be able to, like Amador couldn't come up with a question. He had the right information. He will be able to do that over time. So I don't know. I trust that answers your question. I just don't know how to get better without practicing. And I'm so impressed you're here with a lot of agents. And I wanted to wait a while before I said this. And there's 30 some people on this call, at least the last I looked. Most agents are already taking this week off. This is like we are running a race, and most of our competition, even in our office, is not even in the race. So congratulations, and I appreciate you being on here. So let's go one more, and we have 5 minutes. So let's do this, maybe 6 minutes. We're talking about the property, and we're going to find this probably pretty often. This is in the top 3 or 4 objections that I have from other agents, particularly buyers or even sellers. We can't seem to find the right property. We can't seem to find the right property. So who Who would like to role play with this? You're a buyer, or you could even be a seller for that matter. In fact, I'll just change this, and now you're a seller, would like to sell, yet and you want to buy too. So who would like to do that with me?
Denny, I'll jump in. Jeff Pennington.
Is it Joe?
Jeff.
Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. Jeff, now, step one, all right, so I'm sitting there at the kitchen table talking to Jeff, and he wants to, we talked about the value of his home. Jeff, let me ask you, we went over kind of what's going on in the market. It's kind of white hot. What's your feeling about what the market will deliver to you for your home right now?
Well, I mean, I think at the moment it seems like prices are really good and houses are selling quickly. So I would imagine this is probably a good time to sell.
Right? So then are you ready to move forward with me today to get your home on the market? Now, this is when you're going to come up with the objection.
Denny, I really like everything that you shared with me today. And honestly, my biggest concern is I really need to maximize and get the most money. And, I always hear about the spring market. I mean, it's the end of the year, December, and I feel like the spring market is going to be when I can get a better, a better price for my house and really capitalize.
Okay. So I understand. Well, so what you're saying is that you want to wait in order to get more money for your home?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I've always heard that's the best time of year to sell. So I feel like it would make more sense to wait till spring.
I can do that. Now, this one says, I wanted you to say, well, we can't find the right.
Oh,
spot.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
That's
yeah,
okay. That's a secondary one. Other than that, now come up with this one.
Yeah, it seems like houses are selling quickly, and it's going to be really tough for us to find something we like. The houses I've been watching have sold very quickly.
I'm going to take us. Okay, let's just assume from time's sake, I'm going to go other than that. Any other reason why you wouldn't move forward today? Let's just assume, no, that's it, Denny. It's in a nutshell.
Denny, I think that's really the only reason.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. So I'm stepping out of role to let you know, here's the secret. They are either a buyer or a seller. A seller who was selling and buying is either a seller or a buyer. They're not both. Jeff, let me ask you, do you have to sell this home in order to buy the next one?
I do.
Are they a seller or a buyer?
Seller.
Right now, a seller.
Seller, because they can't buy. Now watch this. This time I want you to say, Jeff, I don't have to sell to buy.
Denny?
Go ahead. Yeah, do you have to sell first before you buy a home?
No, actually, I don't. I think we qualify fine to go ahead and purchase our new home, and then we can rent this one out if we need to.
Okay. Now this can be life-changing right here. They are a buyer, they're not a seller. You must help them understand that. Because yes, they want to sell. However, they don't have to sell to buy. Work on the buying side. All right, so let's just stay on that one for a moment. So you can, if the right house became available, Jeff, you could basically take advantage of it, right?
Yeah, if it was the right house and we could get in there, that we could.
All right, now what would you rather do? I know you can buy without selling. What would you rather do? Would you rather sell first and maybe then wait for the right house, which may be a double move, or would you rather secure the house you really want and get that settled, then go back and sell?
We hadn't really thought about that, but that would actually make life a lot easier. Would it be possible to buy a house first and then sell? Would that make sense?
And let me come up with a question. Jeff, if there were a way to do that, where you could get basically what you want for your home and make it a one move situation, if that were possible, would it be worth a 15 or 20-minute conversation to see if it even makes sense for you?
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds like a kind of a win-win for us.
The only thing in my formula that I've never heard before and never even thought about it until today, because it's come up naturally, is you acknowledge, you isolate. I'm going to add a step. you ask for permission to have the discussion. Because if they say no, then I'll have to practice that one. If they give you permission to have a discussion, now you're going to have a discussion to see if it's even feasible. Does that make sense? And we can spend more time. We're kind of out of time here, you guys. However, either way, I could take Jeff if he wanted to sell first, if he wanted to buy first, if he was concerned about the market. You know, one of my favorite ones that came up a couple of weeks ago when a buyer said, he was a seller, he wanted to buy. He said, he wants to sell and buy. Okay, so he's a seller, then a buyer. He said, I don't want to sell I don't mind selling. I don't want to buy in this market. The question then is this. Okay, I understand, Jeff. Would you rather wait to sell when houses are easier to buy when prices are falling?
No, I'd rather sell my house when I can get the most money for it.
Bingo. I mean, you just sometimes has to be a little slap inside of their head and logic steps in. No, do you want to take advantage? Would you rather sell a house when it's worth more? I mean, stepping into the market is, it can be scary, although they have an option. If people want to win in the market, sell high, buy lower, guess what? They can only win if they sell high. If they wait until the market shifts, they're going to sell lower and buy lower. They can win if they're betting on the don't pass bars, you play craps. They're betting on the market changing, is they sell high and park, go to a rental, go to temporary accommodations, rent their home for 6 months and wait for the market. Now, there's no guarantee it's going to go down. However, that would be the only way they can win-win. If they wait for the market to fall, it's going to be lose, win, lose, lose. Does that make sense? Well, this hour's gone fast, you guys. Any ahas before we go in the chat, or let me know what you learned, any questions you have right now. I don't have to run. I've got a couple minutes if you want to share something.
The ask for permission to have a discussion is a great question.
I thank you for saying that. I mean, it really hit me today. And that's why I love teaching, because I think of things and you guys are, sharpen my iron. And I think that was kind of an aha for me too. So thanks for bringing that up. Anything else?
Yeah, Denny, it's Jay. For me, I've been listening, and it's about my 5th or 6th time. I think the whole thing is, and why I agree 100% about not having a scripted presentation, is getting beyond whatever their objection is and letting them get to know you. And if you're someone that's a likable person and a closer, that's all you want, is the opportunity.
Well said, Jay. Thank you. Anybody else?
Also, to get them to a position of curiosity. I'm going to have to work on that. That seems like well, you'd really be in control if you got them to a position of curiosity.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was an awesome thing that came out of this call too. If I could show you a way that you could have a winning lottery ticket every time, would it be worth a 15-minute conversation? Well, I'll give you 20. You guys are awesome. Next Tuesday, go to my YouTube, subscribe, Denny Delivers YouTube, Denny Grimes Mastermind on Facebook. You guys have a happy new year. And in the words of Hill Street Blues, if you're that old, be careful out there.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Happy New Year. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.